Marcus has $47 in his checking account on a Thursday. Not 4,700, $47. He knows exactly how much it costs to fill his gas tank. He knows exactly how much his phone bill is and exactly which day it hits. He knows the price of eggs without looking at the tag because he has checked that tag every single week for 2 years. This is not poverty. Marcus has a job. Marcus pays his rent on time. Marcus is not behind on anything. But Marcus has not slept past 5 a.m. in 4 months because somewhere between 4:58 and 5 every single morning, his brain starts running the numbers before he is even fully awake. Not because he chooses to, because it cannot stop. This is what $47 feels like from the inside. Not a number, a state of being, a lens that every single decision gets filtered through before you are consciously aware it is happening. And what most people do not understand, what I did not understand for a long time, is that this is not a personal failing. This is your brain doing exactly what it was designed to do, running threat detection, keeping you alive. The problem is that it does not know the difference between a predator and a phone bill, and it does not know how to turn itself off. My name is Jorjo, and I want to tell you about what happens to a brain as it moves through money. Not the math, not the investment strategies, the actual psychological experience of going from nothing to something, from fear to options, from surviving to building. Because there are specific moments along the way, specific numbers, where something shifts in your brain that nobody ever warned you about. And if you know what those shifts feel like before they happen, you can use them instead of being blindsided by them. By the end of this video, you are going to see every dollar you have saved in a completely different way. And if you have not started saving yet, you are going to understand exactly why starting feels so impossible and why it does not have to stay that way. Hit subscribe if you want to understand money at this level, because this is not the kind of thing they teach anywhere. Let's go back to Marcus, because Marcus is about to hit the first milestone, and it is going to surprise him. It takes Marcus 11 months. 11 months of brown bag lunches and canceled subscriptions and saying no to things he wanted to say yes to. 11 months of moving money from his checking account into a savings account that he promised himself he would not touch. And one morning, not a dramatic morning, just a regular Tuesday, he checks his savings balance and the number says $1,047. And Marcus feels something he has not felt in years. Not rich, not successful, not even particularly hopeful, just quiet. That is the only word for it. Quiet. The 5 a.m. calculations do not stop completely, but they are softer. The threat detection software is still running, but somebody turned the volume down. Researchers at the University of Wisconsin studied this exact threshold. They found that having even $1,000 in accessible savings produces a measurable reduction in cortisol levels, the stress hormone. Not because $1,000 solves anything. A medical emergency would erase it in 20 minutes. A car problem would take half of it in an afternoon. But because having it tells your nervous system something it has been desperate to hear. There is a buffer. You are not one bad day away from catastrophe. Not 2 bad days away, but 1. And your brain, your ancient threat detection brain, treats that difference like the difference between standing at the edge of a cliff and standing 3 feet back from it. Technically still close, but breathing differently. Marcus does not know why he feels quieter. He just does. And that quiet is the most important thing that has happened to him financially in years. Because for the first time in a very long time, his brain has just enough space to think about something other than immediate survival. That space is small, but it is real. And it is about to change what he is capable of noticing. By the time Marcus hits $5,000, something has shifted in a way he cannot fully explain to anyone. He tries once to his friend over lunch and gives up halfway through because the friend keeps nodding in a way that suggests he does not understand. $5,000 is not a lot of money. Marcus knows this. He is not confused about that. But $5,000 feels like a completely different category of existence than $1,000. Not 5 times better, categorically different. Like the difference between being outside in the rain with a thin jacket and being outside in the rain with an umbrella. The rain is still there, but you are no longer getting soaked. This is because at $5,000, for the first time, Marcus has options. Small options, not life-changing options, but real ones. His landlord raises the rent by $200 a month. 3 months ago, this would have been a crisis, a week of bad sleep, a frantic reassessment of every expense. Now, it is a problem, an annoying, real, legitimate problem, but a problem he can solve without his heart rate doing what it used to do. That difference between a crisis and a problem is not about the money. It is about what the money does to his brain before the problem even starts. The $5,000 is not a solution. It is a cognitive upgrade. It is the difference between trying to solve a puzzle in a burning room and solving the same puzzle in a quiet library. Same puzzle, different brain. The research on this is striking. A study published in the journal Psychological Science found that financial scarcity does not just cause stress, it actively consumes cognitive bandwidth. People operating under financial scarcity perform measurably worse on standard intelligence tests, not because they are less intelligent, but because a significant portion of their mental capacity is permanently occupied by financial calculation. The researchers estimated the cognitive drain at the equivalent of a full night of lost sleep, every day, for years. Marcus has been doing graduate-level cognitive work on 4 hours of sleep for 2 years. He did not know that. He just thought he was tired. Now, at $5,000, he is getting some of that sleep back. Here is what happens between $5,000 and $20,000 that nobody talks about enough. Marcus starts noticing things. Not big things, small things he simply did not have the mental space to register before. He notices that his company offers a 4% 401k match, and he is never enrolled. He notices that his phone plan has a cheaper option with nearly identical coverage. He notices that his friend from work keeps mentioning a side project that sounds interesting, and for the first time, the thought does not immediately get overwritten by something more urgent. These were not invisible before. They were just below the threshold of what his threat detection-occupied brain was capable of processing. The cognitive upgrade at 5,000 gave him just enough bandwidth back to start seeing past the immediate. By 20,000, the shift is dramatic. Not in his lifestyle, in his posture. There is no other word for it. Marcus carries himself differently at $20,000 in savings. Not arrogantly, not obviously, but there is a groundedness to him now that was not there at $477. His manager says something unreasonable in a meeting, and Marcus pushes back, calmly and clearly, in a way that surprises everyone in the room, including himself. He is not reckless, he does not quit, but something about knowing he has $20,000 in a savings account changes the way he occupies a room. Psychologists call this financial self-efficacy, the belief, backed by actual evidence, that you are capable of managing money, that you are not just surviving, that the decisions you make have weight and consequence and effect. Marcus has proof now, $20,000 of proof. And proof changes how you talk, how you stand, how much of yourself you are willing to put on the line. Marcus has proof now, $20,000 of proof. The transition between $20,000 and $50,000 is where the math starts doing something that feels almost unfair. At $20,000 invested at 8%, Marcus's portfolio generates $1,600 a year without him doing anything. $1,600 appearing in his account while he sleeps, while he works, while he sits at lunch with his friend who still does not quite understand what Marcus is trying to explain. This number feels abstract at first. $1,600 a year is not life-changing, but Marcus does a calculation one afternoon that changes how he sees everything.
$1,600 is roughly the amount he used to spend on his car insurance and phone bill combined, two of the expenses that used to feel most threatening. His money is now covering those expenses by itself. He did not earn that $1,600. He grew it. And there is something about watching money grow that changes your relationship to making it. Like the difference between planting a seed and buying a vegetable. Both get you the vegetable, but only one of them makes you want to plant more. By 50,000, Marcus has crossed a line that he is not able to articulate for another 2 years. The fear is gone. Not reduced, gone. Not the 5 a.m. calculations, not the checking of prices, not the awareness of what things cost. Those habits stay, and honestly, they serve him well. But the fear underneath them, the low-grade animal terror of not being able to handle what comes next, that is gone. And what replaces it is something he was not expecting. It is not confidence, exactly. It is something quieter and more durable than confidence. It is the knowledge, from personal direct evidence, that he has handled hard things before, that he has said no to himself for months when it mattered, that he has chosen future Marcus over present Marcus again and again. And future Marcus is now standing here, in this body, holding $50,000 of proof. The $100,000 milestone does something to Marcus that he will only fully understand in hindsight. Standing on the other side of it, looking back, he realizes that the journey from 0 to 1,000 and the journey from 1,000 to 100,000 were not the same kind of journey. The first part was survival. The second part was evidence gathering. And the 100,000 is the moment when the evidence becomes undeniable. The moment when your brain files you, permanently and without debate, into a different category. Not a category of wealth, a category of capability. The category of people for whom this is just what they do. Not the lucky ones, not the people who started with advantages Marcus did not have. Just the people who kept going past the part where most people decide the answer is no.
There is a morning, months after Marcus crosses 100,000, when he wakes up at 5 a.m. and his brain does not run the numbers. Not because he tells it not to, not because he has practiced some meditation technique, just because there is nothing urgent to calculate. And he lies there in the silence, and he remembers what it felt like to have $47 and a phone bill coming. And he does not feel grateful in some abstract, distant way. He feels it, specifically and physically, the difference between that Thursday and this one. And he thinks, for the first time without irony or bitterness, that the hardest part was not the saving. The hardest part was doing it without anyone telling him that each dollar he moved into that account was quietly changing the brain that would eventually make all the rest of it possible. Nobody told Marcus that. But now, you know.